Touchdown, Chargers!
Well, welcome into a Week 11 edition of Chargers Weekly. As always, joined by the voice of the Chargers, Matt Money Smith. But, Money, we are doing this in a completely different location. Maybe the best location we've ever done this podcast?
Yeah, clearly spared no expense, Chris. Our new studio, our new home for Chargers Weekly, and certainly inside the Bolt, as you can kind of see behind us, give you an idea that we're not in our homes. Probably going to afford us some guests moving forward, and that's the idea. We want to be on site. We want to be on campus, if you will, and hopefully coaches, players, staff going to start making regular appearances on Chargers Weekly since we got Tyler and Brian and these guys to go down and just kind of wrangle them and drag them in here.
Yeah, and it's not just this part. You will see throughout the course of Chargers Weekly, there's multiple locations here in this studio. We got a couch, and like Money said, hopefully players and coaches will pop up here from time to time. We got a pool.
We got a pond.
We got a pool.
Pond would be good for you.
It's like a frat party in here,
yes,
man.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hey, Week 11, Sunday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously the biggest game to date for the Chargers, but we'll rewind. Listen, the Chargers are beating the teams they're supposed to beat, but the way they're doing it right now, Money, and to see the offense, defense, and special teams consistently show up, we're starting to really see a Jim Harbaugh team take full shape over these last 3 weeks, and I think last Sunday was the best illustration of that.
Yeah, we're seeing, to me, the last couple, it's complementary football, right? It's all three phases, and, one hand washes, I guess it's three, so it's hard to have one hand wash the other and the other, but that's kind of what you want to build, right, is a team that feeds, the defense feeds off the offense, the defense, special teams sets up touchdowns like Darius Davis in back-to-back weeks.
Yep.
And I think that's sort of what you're looking for when you hit the midpoint of the season, when you start to make your way toward the playoffs. If you're firing on all cylinders and everything's working the way it should be, this is what it should look like. And to me, one of the encouraging, a few of the most encouraging things are responding to adversity in game, right? Yep. Will Levis, for all of, his detractors, the people that talk about what he does well, he's big, he's strong, he's fast. He moves his legs well. He can push the ball downfield. So you saw that on that first drive, right? Like, Will's using his legs. He's picking up first downs on third down. Calvin Ridley's a legitimate number one receiver. I mean, we talked about him at the trade deadline as someone that would fit that bill. Burns, Ja for a deep one, and that's it, man. After that, it's over. And it was like that. It's been like that repeatedly, I feel like, all season long, where, okay, you got one, but now we kind of know what we did wrong. Let's tweak, let's adjust, and now you're not getting anything else.
Was that the first touchdown allowed in the first quarter since week one?
Yes.
Right?
Not first touchdown, first points. The first points allowed in the first. That's how good this defense has been at setting the tone, giving the offense an opportunity to score first, to get some points on the board, and hopefully have your opponent start chasing earlier than you'd like. I mean, that's the thing with the Titans, right? Like, they're a really good running team. Tony Pollard has run the ball incredibly well this season. So once you can get up two scores plus, now they're out of, whatever rhythm they had hoped to be in. And that's when you can really take advantage, and how it ends up at 27-10, in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, in 27-17, that touchdown came way late in the game. And just the adjustments by the defense after that Ridley touchdown. And then offensively, Money, like, listen, Herbert's numbers didn't fly off the page. 14 of 18, though, super efficient. Had a couple drops in there as well. But the way he's moving right now, running the football, he is a true dual threat at this point that we didn't see earlier in the season. And I can't say enough about the weapons on the outside, especially the last 3 weeks. Just Joshua Palmer, every single week, has made an explosive play since the bye week. Quentin Johnson, 20 catches, 5 touchdowns. 1 in every 4 catches goes for a touchdown. And then, Ladd showed up a couple of weeks ago, first 100-yard game. So the way that they're spreading the ball on, not to mention that Will Dissly's been like the leading target getter for like 3 of the last 4 weeks. Yeah,
look, and I think there's two sides to it, right? You don't want to point out the faults, but you also want to remind people it was 14 for 18. It very easily could have been 17 for 18. One of those was a full incompletion. The other 3, those are drop touchdowns. Yeah. And you're talking about, instead of 27, talking about 35. And I mean, it's Hayden Hurst and it's Will Dissly. The ball hits him in the hands, and Hayden's walking in for a touchdown. You could see how upset he was that one got away from him. And again, we've said this about Will. You're asking him to do things that he's never been asked to do. So, running what's essentially kind of like a wheel route, and he's, trying to track a ball over his shoulder and extend and drag that thing in. That's something that we'd see Hunter Henry or Gerald Everett kind of and asking Will to do. That is still him getting comfortable in that role. And then, Justin made an incredible throw to Josh Palmer. And, oh, by the way, I'd like to point out that throw to Will Dissly, that might be one of his best throws of the year.
It's amazing.
Gibbons is coming in unblocked, straight up middle. I mean, it's the shortest path to get to Herbert. He is backpedaling. He is essentially throwing off his back foot while falling backwards. That's probably 30 air yards, and it's here. It's on the fingertips over the defender, dropped into a bucket. That's how dialed in he is. And that other incompletion was the one to Josh. That was just a really good pass breakup by the corner where Josh had corralled it with one hand, and as he was trying to tuck it against his body, the corner punched it out. Like, it's important to point out, and here's why I want to point it out, because I just feel like I keep hearing, and it's just wild to me, and I don't know what it, and perhaps it's history. History has a part in it, but like everyone's talking about this gauntlet. Oh, okay, well now you got Joe Burrow. After that, you got Lamar Jackson, Kirk Cousins playing at his top 10 PFF quarterback, and then you got Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Yeah, and they've got Justin Herbert. They've got to deal with Justin Herbert. The Baltimore defense has been a mess so far this year. They've got to figure out Justin Herbert. The Bengals defense has been a mess this year. They've got to deal with Justin Herbert. There are two sides to that coin. And for the Chargers, oh, by the way, it's the best scoring defense in the league, and they got a shot to do something that has not happened since 1990 this coming Sunday against the Bengals, and that's hold, their first 10 opponents to under 20 or less points. Like, at some point, the other teams have to deal with the Chargers as opposed to just the Chargers. Oh, we're going to see what they're really made out of now.
Yeah, it goes both ways. Listen, the Chargers, all 6 of their wins have come against teams that are 500 or under.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, you play who's in front of you, though. And the 2 of the 3 games that they lost, listen, Kansas City in Pittsburgh, Justin was hobbled. High ankle sprain. Like, he wasn't the Justin Herbert that we've seen like the last 3 weeks. The Arizona game, I thought he played lights out, and they just couldn't punch it in the end zone. So it's both things. Right now, Cincinnati's 4-6. We'll get into the Bengals, but they're treating this thing like a playoff game, like a must-win game. They're coming out a day early. They have a little bit more rest than the Chargers playing last Thursday, and we'll get into everything that the Bengals possess offensively that's going to be a challenge for this defense. But, I just go back to the way the defense is playing, Money. Like, Daiyan Henley.
Yeah. But you know what, before you get to that, Chris, because you pointed out the kind of the record and who they lost to. They lost to the Steelers, Chiefs, and the Cardinals, right? Cardinals are in first place in the AFC West. Chargers hold them to 17, right? Their next 3 games, 28, 29, 31. That's what Jesse Minter's bunch and this Chargers defense did to a Cardinals team that has scored 28, 29, and 31. Kansas City, they held them to 17 and lost that game 17-10. Their next 3 games, 26, 28, 27, 30. There's their next 4 games. So at some point, yeah, I get it. Their wins have come against teams that are under 500, but the defense is performing in each of those 2 losses against the Steelers, and the Chiefs. You're talking about Rashawn Slater down, Alt banged up and out, and Justin Herbert on a high ankle sprain. So the defense still performed. They just didn't have the full complement of offense.
Exactly.
And that may be why they didn't win that game. But the defense is still right there. Hey, if you can score 20 points, 21 points, bang. That's what this defense is going to afford you from what we've seen thus far.
Listen, if you don't want to believe in the Chargers defense by now, that's your prerogative. But, these next 4 weeks, I think, for people who may have doubts about the Chargers and whether this 6-3 record is legit, you're going to learn over the next month or so. But I'll say this.
But go to Daiyan, please, because let's celebrate him, man, because he needs to get in the Pro Bowl. Like, we have got to start pushing, and I'm glad our friend Baldy posted the video and Baldy's breakdowns. Because he's like, it's time now to start pushing this guy and making sure that everybody knows who he is, and he's in the highlight packages on these nationally televised games.
We weren't the only ones, but I remember last year you and I talking each week like, hey, I'd like to see Henley.
Yeah.
See a little bit more Daiyan Henley, right? The fact that that you have a position coach in Navorro Bowman who's played this game, right? Who played under Jim Harbaugh. To have a guy like Denzel Perryman alongside him, but just not to mention the talent that Daiyan is. He leads the team in tackles by a wide margin, and he's seemingly all over the football field. There was one play that Baldy broke down of him, I think, leaping a guy. This was the Will Levis sack that Thule kind of did the dirty work, knocked Will backwards a little bit, and Daiyan did his thing. But like, we talk about all these guys who are having stellar seasons on this Chargers defense, on the back end, from Molden to Derwin, and guys up front. I mean, Poona Ford's played phenomenal. The guys on the edge, but like Henley has made this thing go, Bunny.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. He leads the team in tackles by 20 plus. He's double-digit tackles seemingly now in every game as he's gotten more comfortable. And again, like, I think it's important to point out, and I think it's important to recognize that at the start of the season, as he's trying to get comfortable, there's a lapse in coverage here. There's a maybe run fit that didn't quite fit there, and that's fine. And like, he was getting by on, he's just so much more athletic than everybody else, and he's still big enough to play the linebacker position while being faster, and having the athleticism to jump over a center, to hurdle a center, and track down Levis for his first career sack. But now you're seeing, okay, now he's got it figured. Now he's figured it out. Now he's taking the angles. Now he recognizes, okay, this isn't a run. I'm holding my spot and covering my parcel of land because we're playing, zone coverage 85% of the time. So I'm responsible for this. Like, all of that is now coming together. And on top of everything, and I feel like more than anything the last couple years, the things that we've talked about, okay, what happened here? How'd they lose this game? They scored third. Missed tackles, missed tackles, bad angles, busted coverages. Daiyan, he erases so much of that because he's the heartbeat. He's the nucleus. He's the straw that stirs the drink. And you can get so much done because now my blockers are just my front is occupying blockers so I can cut DP and Daiyan loose. My back is holding their coverage, and they're jumping routes and they're picking balls. Now it's up to you two to just go off and go wreck the game. And and you said Denzel. Denzel's been doing it too.
Yeah.
I mean, Denzel is bringing a thump every single game, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. In terms of just getting after the quarterback too, just everybody's contributing. Everybody's getting to the quarterback. I mean, Thule has 5.5 sacks over his last 3 games. You saw, I felt good for Joey to get that sack first since week 2. You see Bud Dupree, picking up Khalil, really not playing in this game. Morgan Fox a couple of weeks ago against Cleveland. You're just seeing this. It's cliche, but like, you are playing as a complete unit. Yeah. Like, nobody's outshining the other on a week-to-week basis. It's just like sound football. And I know Coach Harbaugh said on McAfee, like, hey, we're not going to have Jesse Minter probably next year. He's going to be a head coach.
It's true.
And I think it's so cool for a coach to say that, to pump his guys up. I don't want to lose Coach Minter, but like, that's the type of job he's doing right now. If you had like assistant of the year, who else would it be?
Yeah, I mean, it's Jesse, it's probably Brian Flores in Minnesota, what they're doing with that defense. Obviously, what Kingsbury's doing with Jaden Daniels. There's a lot of assistants that are putting in big work. And think about those other 2 names. Those are guys that were former head coaches. Yeah. So that kind of just speaks to what Coach is talking about. I think the thing with Coach Minter too is, remember, it's not just the NFL. This is a guy that dominated college football with a defense and a team that, against Penn State chose not to run the ball or not to throw the ball for 3 quarters because their defense was so good. So it's not just the NFL. It's one of those big-time marquee college football. We'll pay you $10, $15 million a year to come coach our team that very well could come knocking on his door. He's such a good communicator. I loved his presser last week when he was talking about, how he teaches defense, and it just resonated. There was that, I ended up posting it. I don't remember if I posted it on Twitter, Instagram, but it resonated so much with me where he said, you talk to these guys and they remind you, it's like, that's, I don't need to know that. It's great that you know that, but I don't need to know that. And I guess I can kind of relate to it in play-by-play because sometimes when I listen to people call games, it's like, dude, take some stuff out, man. You're giving me way too much. Like, let it breathe and like let me let me take the game in, because right now all I'm getting is just peppered with your words, and it's driving me crazy. And so that's kind of how I related to it is, I'm trying to learn this, but, dude, you're giving me way too much. And so Coach clearly, from guys that show up like Eli Apple 2 weeks before playing 30 snaps against Cleveland, and they go out there and they hold the team to essentially 3 points. The touchdown came with 40 seconds left to get to 10. Like, that just speaks to what kind of teacher he is, what kind of coaches he has under him. Klink, O'Leary, Bowman, like I could go through them all. Elston, I'd love to try to name them all off, but I'll cut it there. But it's incredible what this defense is looking like right now.
Okay, no Zont, right?
Right.
No Christian Fulton the last 2 weeks, who we're expecting back. Dean Leonard's window just opened, so again, 2 fifth-round rookies. I almost think that's one of the stories of this defense is counting on guys that we weren't supposed to count on right now. We're not supposed to count on a pair of fifth-round cornerbacks to kind of lead the way in the secondary, but here we are. One of the other things I thought about too the last 3 weeks, Money, is Chargers would have dropped one of these games in past years. They just, you've dropped a game to a team you should beat,
right?
And they're not doing that, and there's no sign of them doing that. There's no letting your foot off the gas in the fourth quarter. Like, these have been pretty sound, complete wins in the second half. And again, it just speaks to the culture of what Jim Harbaugh is bringing. But it's just you don't feel as antsy as you did in years past in the fourth quarter against teams you should beat. They're beating who's in front of them right now.
Right, and look, that's I don't think it should come off as a shot. I think it's just past experience.
It's just the truth. It's the truth.
It's every now and then you'll get one that gets away, and you're like, oh, how did you let that one get away? And it's not just the Chargers. I know everybody likes to suggest that it is, but it's not. The Ravens lost to Cleveland. Jameis got them for 3 tugs and 330.
And the Raiders.
And they lost to the Raiders. Like, it happens, and it's just you feel. You hear the messaging from Coach Harbaugh. You see the way he's coached his teams through the years. Historically, his teams do not lose games they're not supposed to lose. And it's everybody can try to preach it's a 1 week season, and this is our season this week. But it just feels like this particular staff, led by Coach Harbaugh, does an incredible job of stressing the importance of 1 week season. You lose this game, it could be your season. It could cost you the season. So let's make sure we don't do that. It was fun, in his presser when Coach was talking about what play? He was talking about Herbert's hand strength, and he was talking about was probably the biggest play of the game. Instead of a scoop and score, and you're down 1 going into the half, you hold on to the ball and you going up 6, and then you start pouring it on after that. But he also said, could be the season. Who knows? Who knows what happens after that? And, because his hand strength is so good because he's carrying the bricks, courtesy of old Colonel Jessup, going to the depot and getting the pavers and putting the tack on them. And that's the other thing that Harbaugh does so well. And I don't think it should be overlooked. But so I used to work for this guy, Johnny Barbas, when I was in music, and he was longtime president of Island Records, big-time label. People don't know labels anymore because they just get everything on Spotify. But I'm talking about U2, Bob Marley, Elton John. Like this, these are the kind of artists that he worked with. And he's one of the most powerful guys in music. And whenever I'd go out with him, it would floor me, the names that he knew. We'd go to his favorite restaurant, valet, hey, Carl, great to see you again, man. Slap him 20, walk in, Mater D, Ben, how you doing? How's your wife, June? How are the kids? Get to the bar for a drink. Bob, hey, this is my friend Matt, and hey, is your pal Jack around? Or what? And it goes a long way, and people would just get this big smile when Johnny Barbas walked in, like, Johnny's here, this is great. And that's how Harbaugh is. It's not just, hey, Coach Minter's doing this and Bowman's doing that. It's, hey, Smitty in the equipment room's got the cleats right, and it's Colonel Jessup going to get the bricks, and he's been great. It's everyone, and it's not an act. It's a recognition that this operation, this machine doesn't work if one of the bolts is loose. If one of the sprockets is out of place, this thing breaks down. And that play wasn't just made by Herbert having hand strength. It was made, because of freaking Colonel Jessup going to get those bricks and painting them with some tack and making sure that hand strength is right.
When he was on McAfee on Monday, I don't think that the fellows were expecting the story about Zion Johnson getting a root canal and coming to practice in training camp, and then running afterwards with the big skill guys. Like Zion got like 3 minutes on McAfee, and this is a starting left guard in the league, but it just goes to show you how Harbaugh thinks, how he operates. I mean, the mic'd up was incredible. What I love is that I get to hear your calls even more elevated now.
Yeah.
Like we heard the Khalil mic'd up 2 weeks ago, in between him talking about, hey, pretend we're drawing a pass play here. Go the other side, or this side. And then we hear your call, 4th and 1, Herbert rushing touchdown. That was the play of the game at the end of the half, because those, I'm telling you, like, it's not taking shots or anything. The last few years, we've had plays like that have gone against the Chargers.
Yeah.
And, the fact that he goes to the ref coming out of half and goes, how about that Herbert, huh?
Right.
Hey, you guys made the right call on that Herbert play. How about that? How about his arm strike?
It's
like that's what you're getting here. And it's infectious in the locker room. You can tell that these guys are having a blast.
Yeah.
And the one guy who I keep going back to, and I mentioned him earlier, is Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
Like he's had a tough go with injuries. For him to get back, I talked to Thule after the game and just how happy he was for Joey to get that sack. And then for him to say, hey, coach, you get a game ball in the locker room. It's just you're seeing everybody, whether you're a rookie or a veteran, buy into this operation right now.
And look, I know we were able to put a pin in it for a while and it didn't come up, but going back to preseason and training camp and the conversation around Roman and what's this offense going to look like, and people would constantly, and it's not that I'm in the comments, I literally am in the comments because I like to respond to people and engage. If you're going to send us and take your time to forward a comment or a question on YouTube, I try to go through it, once or maybe twice during the week. And there were multiple people like, enough about Andrew Luck, enough. That was 15 years ago. But that play I can't tell you how many of those I called when I called Stanford games. A million of them. That is a Stanford Andrew Luck play. In the shotgun, move the back out, empty, and here he goes, because he's bigger, he's stronger, he's athletic, and you can't stop him. And to me, that's what people, I think, that were dinging Herbert and dinging this offense and going after Coach Roman early in the season missed. It's like, no, they need the full complement. They need the feet. They need the ankles. Yeah. They need the ability to run for this thing to really look like they want it to look like.
And the time on task, right?
Yes, exactly. And now you're seeing it. And I think now, and look, so time on task, yes, but also how are we going to drop this game plan? It was not lost on Coach Roman and Shane Day and everyone and Coach Harbaugh of what Drake May did to the Titans the week before. They lost that, the Patriots lost that game. But Drake May, man, he was running his tail off effectively. And he's, he's built. He and Herbert he's not quite as big as Justin, but he's a big dude. He's a thick dude. And you saw how effective he was. And that's why I think you saw a lot of these runs. And Herbert, who obviously is doing his film study, going, oh, I can do that. I can get a lot of that against this team. And he did. And it was an effective weapon because of what you see on film and what you have available to you. With Herbert's pinpoint accuracy combined with the ability to run at the level that he can run, I mean, it's as tough a cover as anything in the NFL. I mean, you got quarterbacks that can run that cannot throw it like Herbert. You got quarterbacks that can throw that cannot run like Herbert, and you got quarterbacks that can do both that are not built like Justin Herbert. And that's where your separators can come in and where this thing can really get humming.
How about this development, too? We're taping this on Thursday. The Wednesday injury report, there was one guy out due to injury. I think Khalil. And Khalil has been the model of consistency ever since he's been here. But that just shows you this team is getting healthier. Guys are coming back. We're hoping Zont and Dean Leonard come back to just get more bodies back there in the secondary. And, some of the guys that were nicked up and banged up at the beginning of the year are fully healthy right now. I mean, this is the perfect opportunity for this team to make a run of these next 4 weeks with every single opponent, I believe, over 500. But to have a healthy team right now as we approach Thanksgiving in a couple of weeks, that says a lot about Coach Herbert and everything that they're doing back here.
Look, and it'll be interesting because DJ Chark is finally healthy and he's not taking snaps away from Jalen Reagor, and coach is saying, look, I like what Jalen's doing, and obviously I'm not going to take Josh Ladd or Q off the field because they're now – that chemistry is now there. That what was missing, and you talked about time on task, what was missing in training camp because of Justin's foot injury is now there. Now we've got this rhythm. Now you kind of have Q is your red zone, kind of big red zone target. Palmer is like your Keenan Allen, third down. I know where he's going to be. I can let this thing fly before he even gets out of his break because I know he's going to be exactly where he's supposed to. And then you've got Ladd, who people are now starting to notice. People are now, and I think it's probably in part as well because of how poorly Georgia's offense is operating without him there. They're like, oh, wow, Ladd was a lot more important to that operation.
He
than
and
we
Brock
thought.
Bowers meant something.
Yeah,
huh?
it turns out. And I mean, I get excited, man, when that ball is in Ladd's hands. He is so explosive and so shifty and so hard to track that it's just every time he touches it, I'm like, yeah, this could go. Like this, I don't care if there's 3 people in front of him. 2 of them are going to miss, and we'll see whether or not the third one can get him. So I feel like, I'm not saying that Tarheeb and Cam are going to be your starting outside corners moving forward, but to know that you have that option and to know how good Dean Leonard looked in the preseason when he's coming back, like – they've done a coach and Joe Ortiz and his staff and Chad Alexander and all of them have done a heck of a job putting this thing together where you can deal with Khalil only playing 4 snaps against the Titans and still get out of there with 7 sacks.
Yeah, well, it goes back to just the decisions that were made by Joe and Chad this offseason. They were not easy decisions, right? We knew that Joey, Khalil, Mike, and Keenan, 2 were going to go. We, I think, expected 1 receiver to stay and 1 edge to stay. They chose to go with the 2 edges, keep them here. Mike and Keenan go their separate ways. And now that we have seen a healthy Justin Herbert and we've seen him kind of spray the ball to different guys, again, you've raved about Palmer, and we've really seen it, man. Like since the bye week, he's had an explosive play, at least one every single game. Quentin, how efficient he's been with his touches. And Ladd, who's starting to really come into his own. The right decisions were made. We love Mike, we love Keenan. But the way that they want to play offense here with J.K. and Gus, and Gus is another guy that we didn't talk about, and how good it was to have him back. Take a little bit more off of J.K., 5.5 per clip.
Yeah, huge.
With the tough stretch coming up.
Yeah, so I'll start there, and I don't mean to make this. I hope it doesn't come out the wrong way, but for all the fans that got after us and got after the Chargers, and how could you not draft a wide receiver at number 5, and how could you let Mike and Keenan go? And okay, well, the Bears already fired their offensive coordinator, and they're a complete mess. Mike Williams is no longer on the Jets.
Hashtag Redline.
Yeah, exactly, which we discussed. Was that on this one last week that I got a little loose with that one, or was that with Lowe? I think it might have been. I think it was here.
Oh no,
right?
no. Did you see what he did? What Mike did?
No.
So Mike scored the game-winning touchdown in Washington. And we haven't heard from Mike. He put a picture up on Instagram of his touchdown. He says, "We're back." Hashtag Redline.
Nice, good for him. Oh, it was on my Instagram after the game. That's what it was. It was my Instagram after the game where I just said it.
And then they asked Aaron Rodgers about it. He acted like he didn't see it.
Yeah, of course he didn't, because he's the worst guy ever. Whatever. But yeah, so there's that, right? So Daniel Jones is probably going to get benched. Roma Dunze. Just think of all the names, and this is not meant. This is not meant to be a shot at any of those players. What I'm getting at is this team was built in the image that Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz envisioned it should be built. How many O-linemen did you see get traded at the deadline? How many tackles? How many edges? Zadarius Smith, 1, because he was the extra edge that was moved to Detroit because they were willing to pay a premium to a Browns team that's just trying to acquire draft assets to compensate for the contracts they have out there. Like, those guys don't move. Devontae Adams moved. Amari Cooper moved. Mike Williams moved. You can find those guys, especially if you have an elite quarterback. Not one that suggests that it was a bad route that was run and the reason why the pass was underthrown and behind you, even though you're a jump ball specialist, was because you weren't on the red line, and when he looked up, he had to double clutch. That's why this, that's why Joey was kept. That's why Khalil was kept. That's why Bud Dupree was given $9 million to be a 3rd or even 4th pass rusher, and he's been incredible. And that's why Joe Alt was drafted number 5 overall. And then at the same time, recognizing, we feel like Ladd is just as good as the guys that we could have got at 5, or, had we traded back. So let's surrender an asset or 2 and go get him. And he's going to fit perfectly, and he does.
Well, look at the Chicago example, too. I mean, you give DJ Moore a ton of money.
Yeah.
He's one of the highest paid wide receivers in football. You trade for Keenan, Yet you still draft Rome Odunze
Right.
with a bunch of really good offensive linemen on the board, right? The conviction that the Chargers had to say, hey, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
We're going to pair Joe Alt with Rashawn Slater, and we're going to do it for the next decade. And we're going to get our guy. And we moved up to get him. They moved up a couple spots in the second round to get Lat McConkey.
Yeah.
And I remember draft night, we were talking about, hey, McConkey could be in play here because Keenan isn't with the Chargers anymore. And sure enough, I mean, it was a great move. And just, all these draft picks have contributed. Obviously, Junior Colson's been hurt. We hope he gets back here sooner than later. But, I mean.
Yeah, your corners, your starting corners. And, I'll say this too. Like, just go back, look at the 2023 class. I know that the Chargers Social just posted it, and I was happy they did because we talked about it on the broadcast. We're like, you're talking about 3 Pro Bowlers in the 3rd round, in the 4th round, and in the 6th round. There's no other fullbacks in the league. Scott Matlock's going to be your Pro Bowl fullback. At least he should be, considering what he's doing out there. Darius Davis is going to be your Pro Bowl punt returner.
It's been awesome, man.
And he already has been. And Daiyan Henley is going to be, if all is right in the world and just, he is going to be a Pro Bowl linebacker. That is your 3rd, your 4th, and your 6th round pick in 2023. Matlock couldn't get on the field. Daiyan Henley could not get on the field. Quentin Johnson was being used in a way that was not fair to him, trying to replace Mike Williams, running 9 routes, tracking balls overhead. Like, that's just not what he does. You see what he does this year. You said it. A touchdown. He's got 20 catches, 5 touchdowns. He's grabbing a touchdown every 4 catches he makes. Yeah. Because it's a staff that gets it, man. They know how to coach it. They know how to put you in the right position, and they recognize they invest in you and they trust in you. And it's like, Daiyan, we trust you. Get out there. And it's just Scott, I know you're just starting to play the fullback position. You'll get it. We're willing to deal with some lumps, some missed blocks, some missed assignments here or there because you're eventually going to get it. And when you do, it's going to be great. And now you're seeing great. Gus was on Matlock's tail. It was so fun to watch those inside A and B gap runs where Matlock is just clearing the path and Gus is like, I'm totally fine. Just going to follow you to 6 yards, to 11 yards, to 4 yards, and it's fun to watch, and it's all starting to come together.
And this is December football, right?
Yeah.
The physicality of this team we're going to see on display.
Yeah.
On the other side, we'll talk about Sunday Night Football, Cincinnati, but first I think we're going to try this couch out here with Linebackers coach Navorro Bowman. How about that? Well, how about this? Our first interview in the content studio. Linebackers coach Navorro Bowman joins us. And Navorro, forget football. Let's talk about this content studio, man. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. Just the lights, and it's 2024 ready. I've been in the league for a while. There's no room like this, so it's amazing to be a part of it.
Yep.
Coach, would love to. You have a unique perspective in this, in that you were there the arrival of Coach Harbaugh in San Francisco from previous year under Coach Tom Sula. You hear the word culture kind of thrown around. Like, how would you describe his arrival as a player, what you felt, and then being part of this coaching staff and trying to install and instill, the idea of football that he wants to bring?
Well, I think the first thing is, catering to the players. He's always just on point with what's best for the team. And, even my prior years, it's always been the team. And, I was excited to get here with him this year and just see him come back. And I know he wanted to attack it because of the way things ended in San Fran. So I just wanted to be a part of it. And he just does a great job just knowing what the team needs at that moment and just being there to give us bones or give the team bones when they do something well. Not a lot of, coaches and programs do that. He has a great idea and feel for that, and guys love playing for him. I think that's the reason we're able to have success so early is just he's not the person to kind of always be about what he wants. It's more about what the team needs and wants.
Navarro, what are the biggest differences, if any, from your time as a player with Coach Harbaugh to now coaching with him on this staff?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is, he's expecting, me to be relatable to the players, be able to get guys to just buy in, right? He's coming from college, and I just thought, that would be a challenge, just getting back to you dealing with grown men, right? And I think he's done a great job just bringing what he had at Michigan, but also taking things away once he realized, okay, I don't need this. This is the NFL. These are men. They know what they got to do. And it's been basically a pleasure for the guys just to see him be as flexible as he's been. So not really a big difference, but I always knew that, eventually when the guys learn who he was and who he is, that everything will work out, and it'll be the culture that we're looking for.
Coach, the linebacker group is playing exceptional football coming into the season. A lot of the national perspective was, is it right? How much does Perryman have left? What about these young guys? And it's turned into maybe the best group on the team. One thing that jumps out to me is just tackling. These guys don't miss tackles. Their angles are exceptional. How do you teach it? How do you coach that? How much of it is physical? How much is it, as someone who was an off-ball linebacker, like how do you coach? You got to see it, you got to attack it, and you got to make sure that it's sound.
Well, I think it starts with the coordinator, him putting together the schedule and how he wants to approach the week. So there's a separator category that we like to attack every single week, maybe 3 times a week. And it's based off tackling, communication, block destruction, effort, and angles, right? So we drill it every single day. We talk about it every single day. And, me being a linebacker, I have the wherewithal and the details about tackling all the way down to a science. And I got a chance to kind of explain this to the team and how we tackle and how we want to tackle this year. And just us being able to attack it and go over it every single week, the guys have just been doing a good job just keeping it on their minds and really focusing on it. And if you look at other teams, you can just see those separators not being hit, right? So it's working for us. I try to be as detailed as possible. And it's not really beating the guys down when they miss a tackle. It's more about just correcting the details, the angles, and just the body position. So as long as you're in that position and you're thinking about the details, a great tackle should be made.
Navarro, you can't help but notice the great relationship that Daiyan and Denzel have. And it seems like, you got a veteran there versus a young guy. And then someone like yourself who's played this game at a high level, one of the best in your era. I don't know if you could just speak to what Denzel has meant to that room and the knowledge that Daiyan is soaking up from both of you, and really the knowledge that Denzel, even as a veteran, is soaking up from you.
Yeah. I've watched Denzel before he got here and just loved the way he approached the game, and having Daiyan not play as much last year and knew that we was going to be dependent on him this year a lot. I wanted to really have a guy that's a veteran that would show him how to be a pro, show him how to approach the game plans and move throughout the week so that he is ready on Sunday. And we all, in the linebacker room, hold each other accountable. I tell them all the time, this is a family. The competition isn't between you guys, it's between the white lines. No matter how you feel, it's a production business. So when you go out there in between the white lines, that's the way that you get on the field. When you get off the field, you guys remain brothers, all right, remain family, and just remain tight, tight-knit as a group and be happy for another man's success, right? And that's been, sticking with us, and we've been playing the way that, I would like us to play, and we still got room to get better, and I expect guys to do that.
I'd love to know, as someone who's gone on streaks of double-digit tackles and back-to-back games, because, look, I get it, stats aren't the greatest thing, but they can confirm what you see. And when you see what Daiyan's doing and then you go to the box score and you see, wow, 14, 13, how hard is that to do? Like, what does it take to be able to pile up, not just in one game? Because, I was going through your game logs and I'm like, damn, 18 and then 16 and then 13. Like, to be able to consistently put that together, how does that work? How much of it is, like you said, the overall scheme versus what he individually is being able to accomplish out there?
Well, it starts with wanting to be elite, right? And if you want to be elite, you got to do elite things, right? You got to be special. You got to attack the game with that elite mentality. And, when you have all of that, now it's about your want to, right? Not I have to. Coach said I got to run the ball. No, do you want to run to the ball? Do you want to be looked at as the top linebacker in the league? The only way you can do that is to keep showing up in that little box, all right, that's on the screen, the camera doesn't cover the whole field. So if you're in that frame, you're doing what most guys don't want to do, and that's run to the ball when the play is not next to you. And you could just turn on the film and just see Daiyan. He's sprinting to every single ball and getting tackles that belongs to someone else. And I hopped on that, and he's doing a great job, approaching every week and putting that on film. And I'm just happy for the guy. I've been a rookie or a young player next to a vet, and you just see, how the vet moves. But he's been attacking every single day. I think yesterday was the first day he missed since OTA, since off season. So he's been around, and he's been doing a great job just coming into work, willing to do whatever we ask of him, and it's showing on the field.
You mentioned he didn't play much last year, and listen, we saw the measurables, third-round pick, and we knew what he was capable of. Are you even surprised by the success that he's had as we enter Week 11?
I am. I mean, I didn't really have a clue on what I had. You can look at him, he looks great, right? But it's about what you do. And, he's been taking the learning, right, and learning how to play the linebacker position on the run. And it's not an easy position. He's played skill positions on offense mostly of his college career. And now he's asked to play linebacker where your eyes have to be right. The wrong false step can put you in the wrong position, right? So just, him wanting to play the linebacker position the right way and being coachable, I think that's the biggest thing. You may think you did something right in that play, but I have something to say, and he's been good with accepting the criticism and correcting it the next play.
Are we do you think we're getting back into like maybe a linebacker renaissance? I think about when you were playing with Patrick and when you had Ray and Bart and, even like Urlacher and Rosie and like those guys. It feels like we're maybe getting back there a little bit. Like the league is recognizing how important, look, I get it. They're starting to throw the ball over the place. You got to adjust. But it feels like, do you feel like it's that way that like, this is an important position, man. We got to make sure we get the linebacker level right.
Yeah, I just think guys are, faster, lighter. That transition started to happen later on in my career where, safety started moving down in the box. And Daiyan's a guy who's not really the big, bulky linebacker, right? He's had to put on this weight, right? So his athleticism, his quickness, his flexibility and things like that is still there, right? So we've been able to have a guy that's put on the right weight, is the right size, has the right mass to play the position and also run with these small, quick, fast scat backs. So, the linebacker position is evolving back to it being a necessity, it being a very high impactful position. And it's just been great to see that the transition has happened. You don't have to be 250 pounds no more. You can be 225 based off of how the offenses are approaching games now with passing the ball. So third down, Daiyan's able to stay on the field, play dime, first and second down. We have two linebackers on the field. So it's been, a transition from that point where, when I played, we never came off the field. But these guys, these offensive coaches and coordinators do a great job of trying to spread you out and find those matchups. So he's worked to it, man. He's done a great job, and he's earned it. Nothing's given to him, and I'm just excited for him.
Navarro, one of the more remarkable things I think we've seen this year is just the consistent play of the defense as a unit, right? We've talked about this 20 points or fewer and through Week 11 here, but what has been the secret to the success so far? Because this is, new coordinator, new scheme, a lot of new players, and it seems like if a guy goes down, you got Tarheeb and Cam on the outside doing their thing on the back end. Junior goes down, Daiyan and Denzel have been consistent across the line. I mean, everybody has contributed in a way that it's not something you would typically see out of like a first-year unit. Like, what has been the secret to the success?
Well, I think we have the right veterans, right, at key positions. And early on it didn't look like this, right? And, we had to break a lot of bad habits. We're young, right? We're using guys that came from college systems where they may not have had to practice hard. They may not have had to run to the ball, right? They may not have had to communicate as much as we asked them to. So those bad habits, as a coaching staff, we hopped on, breaking those bad habits the entire offseason. And to have those vets that's in those positions, reiterate, what the coaches are trying to get accomplished, that's been the key to it, right? We always say this is not the coach's team, this is you guys' team, and accountability has to be acknowledged when things aren't right, So it's just been a group effort, I think, and guys just buying in. The coaching staff, most of the coaching staff came from Michigan, so they were used to winning, right, and being hungry and being hungry to leave a mark in the NFL. So just everyone just attacking every single day, not getting complacent, always reaching to get better, right, and not getting complacent. So hopefully, man, we continue on. We get this fourth win in a row, and we just keep going forward. You
mentioned dime. Feels like when Derwin's out there, it's in like a dime backer role. Do you get Derwin in your meeting room? Do you get to tap into that?
I don't, man, but he loves being in the box, right? He loves doing more and being that guy that can play multiple positions, being flexible and things like that. And there's no safety like him, man. Just the way he communicates, the way he brings guys together, and just to hear his passion behind any time he opens his mouth. Like, it's passionate. He means well, means good when he opens his mouth. And I think guys really enjoy just having him back there on the back end.
I try to put myself in your shoes before a game as a player versus a coach now, right? You got a big primetime game against the Bengals Sunday night, and I don't know if you could just, for our fans and viewers, just take us through what it's like for you to get ready for a game as a coach versus a player. Got to be a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a little different. Just wanting to make sure that I covered every single thing throughout the week, making sure that the guys are prepared. And just making them understand that every week is going to be different. We've faced the same runs, and Tennessee was the difference maker, right? They came out and did a little different things, and just me had played the game and be able to talk to them and calm them down when something bad happens. That's been the enjoyment part of me being a coach, is just relax. We good. I got it. All you have to do is just this little thing, or get your eyes right to see this little thing, and they're calm, right? They're able to go back out there, let that bad play go, and have some success on the next play. And just, being there to on the sidelines, just being able to be their serviceman, right? Just that's why I got into this, really just wanted to service and give players whatever they needed, and that's what coaching is about, I believe. So I enjoy it, man, just seeing the other side of things, seeing how, Jesse prepares, and, maybe, later on down the road, something else might open up. But I'm just enjoying, being an assistant coach, being a linebackers coach, and seeing these guys have success.
When I want to go back to something you said earlier, and last one from me. We don't want to keep you too long. You got to prepare for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. But you said you had it down to a science. So when I think of science, I think of science. I think like F1 drivers catching the balls, to help eye-hand coordination and speed and reaction. Like, can you share with us like some of the things that you've found work, and how I can help train your eyes so you don't miss it and you do see it? Are there things that you found that are proven commodities, like this is what I have to teach to get this right?
Yeah, I mean, the process of your eye progression, right? Something so little, right? If I just say you have the hook, curl, drop, right, and you look and then look back at the quarterback, that process is totally wrong, right? You have to feel that guy, right? You can look once, but you have to feel him and still be able to work off the quarterback's eyes, not crossing over in the box, understanding the running back's shoulders. If they're turned to the sideline, he's going out. If they're square, he's coming back. He's cutting the ball back. And the more you watch film, the more you just continue to just dissect a type of runner or a type of quarterback. I look for the littlest things. I mean, whether this guy's wiping the towel every pass, right? Whether this guy's looking left, and then he just hikes the ball, right? That's a tip, right? That's things that, as a linebacker, you want to take all of those tips throughout the week, and then when Sunday comes, you're ready and prepared.
Do you play poker?
No, I need to get into it.
Yes,
though.
you do. If you're able to read all that and do it quickly, you got to get into poker. That is for sure.
Navarro, we'll get you out of here on this. Money mentioned Joe Burrow and the Bengals. We were talking about their performance last week in Baltimore. As far as with Burrow and Chase, what have you seen on film from these guys, and how tough are they to defend?
We have respect for them. We know the weapons that they have on offense. Joe is a heck of a quarterback. We're not taking this game lightly by any means, but we have a job to do, right? And respect is there, but we're preparing to beat them, right? And that's what it's about. It's about us. And if we keep it that way, we plan on being where we want to be.
On Location, official hospitality partner of the NFL and the LA Chargers, offering Chargers fans the opportunity to lock in verified Super Bowl tickets and access to exclusive pregame parties with an official VIP ticket package. Take your pick from the best seats at Caesars Superdome, including the most coveted seats at the 50-yard line, and exclusive access from private pregame parties featuring big-name entertainment, chef-inspired food, and top-shelf bar to post-game field celebrations. Incredible experiences are coming in hot. 5-star hospitality. Go first class all the way from the moment you arrive in New Orleans. Enjoy personalized concierge services, excursion planning, reserved parking, a VIP gifting suite, and many more premier perks. Visit onlocationexp.com/SBLIX or call 877-373-5062 to secure your ticket packages today. So here we go, guys. Sunday Night Football, SoFi Stadium, the first primetime game of the year for the Chargers. Won't be the last. Joe Burrow and company come to town, and they're coming off of lost money. They are desperate to try to make the postseason. I mentioned this earlier. They are leaving a day early to get here, and they said they want chemistry on the team, and they're trying to beat the Chargers on Sunday to make the postseason. It's not going to be an easy game.
I appreciate they left a day early thing to kind of get out here. I cannot – I'll say this –
maybe because it's 75 degrees here.
I'll say this is speculation, though. Just consider this speculation, but I heard from somebody that not only did they come out a day early, but that they're staying for a few days, that this is going to be a little bit of we got our bye week. Let's kind of get you guys a little bit of a reward, stay out on the West Coast. Perhaps it's Newport Beach. Or in that area. And so it's like, oh, well, maybe now it's not a business trip. Maybe now there's a little thing on the back end there that suggests that can be a little bit of personal action, which I appreciate. Plant those seeds.
We can incentivize them to
seeds
win
of
on
softness. But yeah, look, in all fairness, this is a really good team. Joe Burrow is playing as good a quarterback as anybody in the league. He's one of my absolute favorite players to watch. I don't know, outside of Justin Herbert, if there's a quarterback I like watching more, man. Just the punishment that he takes, the willingness to stand in, the accuracy with which he throws the football, and just the fiery competitor that he is, man. I love the guy, man. I love the way he plays, and I think back, we have the experience, right? I think back to that. What were they? I think Chargers were up 24-0, if I remember right, in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And it felt like the game
back.
was over, and just here comes Burrow, man. And he got clocked in that game. I don't remember if it was an ankle or what it was, but he got hurt in that game and just started freaking dealing. And it's like, oh boy, this could get sideways in a hurry. And it's gonna be tough. It's the best receiver in football. You know, whether it's Chase or Jefferson, take your pick for me. Jamar Chase, because of the combination with Burrow, I think it depends on who's throwing you the ball. It's kind of part of it. So it's going to be a bear, man. It's, pardon the non-pun because they're Tigers, but it's going to be a heck of a matchup, man. And if you can get Christian Fulton back out there, if you can get some depth into this secondary, it's going to be really fun. It's going to be a fun chess match of Jesse Minter versus Joe Burrow, and how this thing looks when those two units are on the field.
Christian Fulton and Jamar Chase, both LSU Tigers.
Exactly.
Jamar Chase, I mentioned Quentin Johnson is number 2 in the AFC in receiving touchdowns with 5. Jamar doubles that at 10.
Yeah.
Nobody's close to him.
No.
The game that he had against the Ravens was remarkable. I think 264 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. Burrow goes over 400 yards, and I think a couple weeks ago we talked about how bad the Ravens secondary has been this year. And, that's a division game. Those guys see each other all the time. It was an awesome Thursday night game, 35-34. The Ravens eked it out. But we look at the AFC money. There's so many bad teams in the AFC that the Bengals are right in the mix for the 7th seed. The Chargers are firmly kind of entrenched in that 6th seed right now. It's 6-3 because you have the Ravens and the Steelers who are playing Sunday. Winner of that's probably going to be the 5 seed, or the loser of that rather going to be the 5 seed for now. But the Bengals, you're competing with the Colts. You're competing with the Broncos. You were competing with the Jets. I think the Jets are done now. But
you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so.
The thing about the Bengals is you said it earlier about this being a playoff game for them. It is because so they're a game back in the loss column of the Broncos. The blocked field goal hurt the Chargers trying to win a division and punch their ticket that way. It helped the Bengals immensely because they're only a game back and they still play the Broncos.
Yeah,
so
later in the year.
Yeah, so the team that's right in front of them, they play. I mean, after the Chargers, they still got to play the Steelers twice, but in the middle of that, they get Dallas, Tennessee, Cleveland, Denver. So it's still in front of them. This is not a team that by any stretch should be given up. But going back to a point you made earlier about making sure you beat Tennessee and New Orleans with Spencer Rattler, and you go through that list, it's a team that lost to the Patriots in week 1, and that's when you circle those games. How is this team that's averaging whatever they're averaging, 30 points per game? How did you lose to the Patriots 16-10? And that's just something that's dogged the Bengals
slow starts
forever.
Yeah.
They give one of those away, if not 2 of them, early in the season. But as I put my old man glasses on, the thing that's interesting about this team is how it's not just it's not just this offensive explosion. Oh, yeah, it's 34 last week, 41 the week before. Okay, they played the Eagles in a really good defense. They only scored 17. The Browns, look, offensively challenged, but we know what that defense looked like. Yeah. They only put up 21 against them. Dexter Lawrence is still in the conversation as Defensive Player of the Year. They could only hang 17 on the Giants. It's a team that when facing a really good elite defense, the offense does struggle a little bit. And I'm glad you pointed out that the Ravens have had serious issues on that side of the ball this year, particularly in the secondary. So I think the people that are let's see what this defense has, going back to an earlier point I made, it's this is a Bengals team that's got something to prove. They got to prove that they can take down a top-shelf defense and continue to put up these, sort of numbers with elite playmakers.
Yeah. 7 of their 10 games, they've scored 21 or more. But you mentioned that first game. They only scored 10 against the Patriots week 1. You may look at that game at the end of the year oh, man, maybe that's the reason we didn't make the playoffs. They lost by 20 to the Eagles a couple of weeks ago. And they've beaten the teams that they're supposed to beat. You beat the Raiders, you beat the Giants, you beat the Panthers, you beat the Browns. So it's not like they've played a ton of world beaters, but they've played really close games. Two close games against the Ravens. One went to overtime. One was last week by 1. That game in Arrowhead early in the year.
Oh, yeah.
They should have won that game, but I think it was the Brit
it was
PI.
Chiefs black magic.
Yeah, it's what it is. It's what it is.
For Cam, it was also he had one of, if not the greatest interception we'll see all season in that game, and then just an inexcusable PI. But that's also on Coach Lou for rushing 3. We talked about that in the moment. It's what? Come on, man. Just if you're better off running a 0 on Patrick Mahomes in that situation than freaking rushing 3 and giving him all the time in the world. But just kind of going to the matchup, some things that jump out is, they got serious fumbling issues with their running backs. So, as much as this team has what the Chargers have done with takeaways, and they protect the ball, they take the ball away, that's between, Chase Brown and Khalil Herbert, you're going to probably see a lot of punching at the football and a lot of holding them up while somebody else is in there trying to wrestle that thing away. Look, Chase Brown doesn't fumble that ball. They end up beating the Ravens. I mean, that just completely changed the complexion of that game. But it wasn't a fluke. It's a guy that fumbled the ball 5 times his senior year at Illinois. So it's those are the things that Coach Minter is so good at about, okay, where's the what are they doing? How do we affect it? get some turnovers, man. Burrow's thrown, 4 interceptions to 24 TDs. He takes care of the ball. He's super accurate. So you're probably not going to get it there, but you can maybe get it by punching one of those out, and that could be the difference in this game.
The Bengals this year remind me of what the Chargers have been the last couple of years, just completely reliant on their quarterback. They're not afraid to go away from the run. I think last week, 56 attempts for Burrow, just 16 rushes. For the Bengals. So, we've seen Justin have to put the entire offense on his back the last couple of years and throw it 50, 55 times. Harbaugh has made that concerted effort to say, no, that's not happening anymore. We're going to run the football.
Right.
We're going to be efficient, and we're not going to ask Justin to do everything. That's not what the Bengals do. The Bengals ask Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow to carry them. And for as lights out as they played, unbelievable performances by both of them, they still lost to the Ravens last week. Now, T. Higgins, limited participant this week.
Yeah, it looks like he might be back.
Yeah, he could be back, which is just another huge weapon for them, man.
Huge. When you've got both of those guys, it makes all the difference in the world. You can shade, especially like we talked about earlier. Coach Minter plays a ton of more zone than almost any other team in the NFL. They play a ton of cover 4. They're, 6 men light boxes more than anyone else, and they're still effective against the run. So he's got those built-in guardrails, those gutter guards, to try to prevent, explosives from happening. And when you have 2, it makes it a little bit tougher. When you have the ability of T. Higgins to go along with the exceptionalism of Jamar Chase, it can definitely, lead to some sleepless nights and trying to figure out, especially when someone like Joe Burrow's the one delivering, how accurate, how quickly he sees it. His progressions are lightning quick, and he will find that window faster than almost anybody in the league. And that's the other thing about Burrow. Like, for all the hits he takes, if he's got his full complement of weapons, like, one of the things, like, what made him great at LSU was there was never anyone in the backfield with him. And they didn't even run tight ends. It was just 5 O-linemen, Burrow, and 5 receivers, whether it was a back or 2 tight ends or a tight end or 4 receivers.
Was there kind of, but he was more of a...
but he was just always lined up in the slot or running wheels or like... And because he just sees it, man, and it's gone. And it's exactly where it's supposed to be in the one mismatch on the field. And to Zach Taylor's credit, I think when Burrow first got there, they weren't quite doing that, and Burrow's like, hey, dude, don't worry about me. And to some degree, it's hurt him because he gets hurt, and he's dealt with injuries and stuff because he takes shots, but that's what he's good at. I bring it up because it reminds me kind of when you had Bosa and Melvin Ingram in that playoff game when the Chargers won 12 games against New England, and it's like they can't get home. The ball's gone. Yeah. Like, Brady's he's so good at seeing it, and remember how frustrated Joey was because he'd win his one-on-one, and by the time he get there, ball's gone. Ball's gone in a second, 1.75 seconds. So that's something that Burrow can also do when he has that second, T. Higgins is a number 1 receiver, when he has that second number 1 out there, and what makes it a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. I think what's cool over the next month is, we've got to see this Chargers team at 6-3. The whole nation's going to see them over the next month with a Monday night game against the Ravens after this one on Sunday night, and then Sunday night football in Arrowhead a couple of weeks later. So the whole nation is going to see Harbaugh, over the next month. And I can't say enough about the crowd Sunday.
It was great.
It was a huge pro Chargers crowd against the Titans, and I think you'll see more of the same on Sunday night.
Yeah, look, I think going back to this game against the Titans and what we saw, right? 18 attempts, 39 on the ground. So let's run the ball. We can get this team on the ground, and it to some degree negates that upfield rush of Jeffrey Simmons. When you're just running right at him through that A gap with Gus, Harold Landry, Arden Key, and just exceptional pass rushers. So let's just see if we can run it. If we can, that's what we're going to do, and that's how we're going to win the game. And then, of course, on that final drive, that's just the exclamation point. Yeah, we got you with some jabs, a couple body blows. Well, here comes the haymaker, and it's Dobbins, and it's Gus Edwards, and it's Herbert with his legs, and you just pound them into submission. And in the case of the Bengals, they have got serious secondary issues. They are searching for answers. Cam Taylor-Britt has been one of the great young corners in the league, and it's just not happened this year. He's been one of the worst cover corners in the league all season. I think QB rating against is in like the 130s. So people are just passing. Hey, find the Cheeto and go get it. And that's what they've been doing. Since they let Jesse Bates walk, they've been searching in the safety level, trying to get that right. And if you look, Coach Anarumo, he's just been rotating guys. In games, guys are getting benched. Guys are coming back in. So I think just when you think, oh, wow, okay, here we go. Now it's the Greg Roman rush attack. Don't be surprised if this is a Herbert, Burrow, air it out, shootout because of just what the Bengals have struggled to do. The one caveat there that I'll point out is Trey Hendrickson's been the best pass rusher in the NFL this season. Yeah. He's just been on a freaking tear, an absolute tear. I want to say, I don't have my notes with me. They're at my home computer, but I think his pressures, he's number one in pressures. I want to say it's in the, you know what? I can get it to you right now. It's crazy what his pressures. I think he's like up over 60 pressures right now through 10 games. He is at, let's see, give it 54. 54 pressures. To put that in perspective, Khalil Mack leads the Chargers with 31. Like, that's what Trey Hendrickson is doing. But they cannot find anyone opposite him. That's why they went shopping at the deadline, trying to find a second edge, and it's just not come together. So that's a lot different when you're Greg Roman and Coach Harbaugh and trying to scheme for that. Like, okay, well, wherever he is, hey, JK, you're now kind of – and he's been great in pass pro, JK has. Move from my left hip to my right hip. Let's make sure you're over here. Hey, Will, come on in motion. Come set up right here because we can deal with the rest of this. But as long as you're here, we have a little bit of time. And that's the other thing about 14 for 18, man. Herbert got hit twice. Not sacked. Not sacked. He got hit, pressured 2 times in that game. Like I shouldn't say hit, 2 pressures. One of them was that unblocked rush up the middle to Gibbons that he should have thrown a touchdown pass on. Yeah. Like, that's how well the line played last week, and you hope you can see more of that this week.
I think the key to the game for the Chargers is keeping Burrow off the field. If they can do that with the running game, with just the emergence of Gus now, with JK, I think if they win time of possession, if they possess the ball for 35 minutes, they're going to win the football game. And I think, the best way to combat Jamar Chase and T. Higgins as Joe Burrow is keep them on the sideline. And I think they can still accomplish that through the air. Just keep running the clock down, man. Like,
take the air out of the ball.
Take the Bengals offense off the field, and you win the football game.
Yeah, and for me, it's still that turnover. Create those turnovers. The teams. Herbert. Justin just set a new record last week. 7 consecutive games without an interception thrown. That's a Charger record now. He leads the NFL in consecutive games and consecutive passes without an interception. He's taking care of the ball, and that's what I think went into a lot of those sacks. When he was, I think it was 21 sacks over 5 games, or 4 games. It was 21 over 4. I think a lot of that was our defense is great. J.K. Scott is exceptional. Punt's okay. It's not what we want. We don't want you to take sacks. Yeah. We don't want J.K. to punt the ball. But the one thing we really don't want is an interception and a turnover. So don't feel like you got to force it because the defense is playing so well. Our special teams is so spot on that every now and then if you got to eat it and, it's a 3 and out, oh, well, we'll get it back and we'll have another crack at it. Let's just not give them a short field. Let's not breathe any life into these offenses that we're playing when it's these sub-500 teams and just play efficient, complementary football, and that's what this team's been doing. So create those turnovers, increase your margin in takeaway, giveaway, and protect the football. Yep. And I think you can get out of here with a victory.
And final thing, flip the field. Like you mentioned, Darius Davis, his welcome back last
Back-to-back
week,
games,
53 yards punt return in Cleveland, 56-yard kick return against the Titans. I mean, that puts the Chargers in great positions.
Yeah, I mean it's backbreaking.
Yeah.
You're a defense, and you want to force them to go the entire length of the field, and you get a nice punt, or whatever, you get it away, and then all of a sudden you see a guy field it at the 16, and next thing you know, you look up and he's at your own 35, and it's like, yeah, it's tough, and now you're on your heels, and you're trying to hold him to 3, and next thing you know, something goes over your head. So, yeah, look, and Cam Dicker, of course, perfect last week. I think. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to. He really likes kicking at SoFi. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I don't want to want to share any stats or anything. Although I did put the announcer's jinx on Nick Folk.
Did you?
Yes.
What'd you say?
Before the missed field goal that he had last week. I mentioned that right as they were setting up the kick, I said, Nick Folk has the longest streak of kicks made without a miss in the NFL right now. Bang. See you later. It works both ways, people. The announcer's jinx works both ways. If you're going to come after me for our guys, then at least give me my flowers for doing it on the other side.
The culture's good here. Offense, defense, special teams, and broadcast booth, all contributing to Chargers.
Exactly
wins.
right. Exactly right.
Sunday Night Football, anything else to add, man?
No, that's just excited, man. Show up with that same energy you had against the Titans, and it's going to be great. Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth out there calling the game on Sunday night. I know it's sad not to have Al around because it'd be a home game for him, and he'd always get excited when we run into him.
He's probably sad, too.
He's like, I need more of these. I need more. Just keep playing well so I can get some more flex so I get home games. But it is instead Mike making his way out from Detroit, and then the following week, of course, the Harbaugh, which we're all excited about.
Wait for that one.
Hey, man, you're 6-3. And you got 8 games to go, and we've said forever, it feels like 10's going to punch your ticket to the tournament. Keep pushing forward, man. I got to believe the black magic that the Chiefs are practicing is going to run out sooner or later. And maybe there's still a window there, knowing that you got one more against them coming up in a few weeks, too.
Yeah, it's going to be – listen, this whole month is going to be fun. We got, like you said, Harbaugh next week, and then Kirk Cousins and company in Atlanta, and then Sunday Night Football in Kansas City. You got the Broncos back here in a few weeks, so – no shortage of storylines here in the AFC West, too, as the Chargers try to punch their ticket here, hopefully in a few weeks. For money, I'm Chris.
Wait, I'm going to add this.
Yep.
If you're only doing the audio component, do yourself a favor. Go over to YouTube.
Pop over.
Go to Chargers.com. Check out the new studio. It's our debut run. See what they managed to put together. Again, another feather in the cap of the Spanos family, sparing no expense for what is a humble abode for you and I in Chargers Weekly and all the great digital content we're going to produce moving forward.
It's incredible, and we got a great crew behind the camera right now doing this. And,
they're all right.
Yeah, best in the business, best in the NFL. All right, guys, for money, I'm Chris. This has been Chargers Weekly.